Tonight, we're asking a deceptively simple question with enormous implications. Is knowledge still valuable when everything is searchable? When answers are instant, whether through Google or AI, what does it actually mean to know something anymore? We'll explore how instant access is reshaping education, expertise, work, and human judgment itself, and why, in a world flooded with information, understanding may be the rarest skill of all. Welcome to The Rundown. Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. I'm so happy to see all of you here. Welcome to The Rundown. Holy moly, do I have a panel for you today. We have our regulars and a special, wonderful, wonderful guest. I'm so excited to welcome her. But let's start with Tamara Pika. Oh, dear Lord,
I'm a
where
blank
are you,
square.
Tamara? Tamara, you're not even there. Where'd you
It's a
go,
lovely
Tamara?
color.
There you go. Come on, Tamara. There you are. Sorry about that.
I was a blank square.
You're a blank square. You're never a blank square in my mind.
Just a
Not
square.
sure.
You're just
That's right.
How are you?
I am good. I'm
Good.
pretty good. Excited to be here tonight.
Good. Good to see you. And also here, from just off his exciting show last night, Mr. Tony Mobley. How are you, sir?
I am fine.
How was the show last
break
night?
and break. It was great. I had Roz McNulty on, and she is a evangelist for the Apple Vision Pro, and she shared some things. And one of the things that I think was really meaningful from that conversation was that she was really sort of pushing the envelope that even though you think you may not be able to afford a Vision Pro,
Please tell
based
me you're not
on
going
what
out
you-
to buy a Vision Pro. Please tell me you're not.
I am not going to get one right now, but she made a very strong argument for why people that are interested in technology should think about it,
Well,
because it is the future.
So the sixth person on our panel is the person to talk to about wearables, but I'll get to her in just a second. Let's start by saying hello to Lois, our emissary. You are now officially the Rundown's emissary to the world, Lois.
I am?
You found this new friend of ours.
I found Jasmine. That's
Yes.
right. I did.
How are you, Lois?
I'm doing very well. And there's sunshine today. There's only a little bit, but that's very good.
We'll take it. Is it sunny up by you, Mr. Troutman?
Yes, it is. It's sunny, but bitterly cold and a little bit too windy. So
Oh.
yes, it's nice up here when it's nice, but it isn't always nice. And so we celebrate when it is.
And I just want to give a shout out to you and all the other people who were behind the big show on Tuesday, making that happen.
That was so much fun. Yes.
It was such a great show, the giveaway show, and it was just fantastic.
Mhm.
So congratulations to you.
I had
and
the
entire team.
heebie-jeebies going in, but it went totally smoothly,
Yeah.
except for a little bit of solar flare stuff. But anyway,
which we have no control over, right? Let's see. Who else is here? Oh, Mr. Sky. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you.
What's doing? Anything exciting?
It was.
You're not at church this week.
I'm drinking. That's once a month. So whenever you see the library behind me, it means I'm at the facility for a worship and arts meeting.
There you
So
go.
things, as you know, when people gather together, it doesn't happen just by magic. It's rehearsed and practiced and thought about. Oh, sorry.
What?
Oh, I know. I've got a joke about that between the Baptist, the
Yeah.
Presbyterian, and the Pentecostal. But
Okay.
We'll do that
And the
later.
next person on the panel.
Moving on.
Please welcome Jasmine
Gong.
Irene Baptista. Jasmine, how are you?
I'm really good. Thanks for asking.
Where did you come from? Why are you here? Tell us about you.
Well, Lois is the person who told me that I should get in contact with David. I am a student of agricultural and environmental technology, focusing on wearable technology at the University of California, Davis. I'm in my 3rd year right now. I'm really loving it. And I'm really excited to be here. Yeah.
We're excited to have you also. And for any of you who are wondering, as I was when I met Jasmine the other day, what does wearable technology have to do with agricultural technology? She can share that with you later if you'd like. It's a great question, and she has a very, very good answer. But before we get into any of that, let's jump into the news. I have to apologize that both of today's news stories are from OpenAI, but I'll give you another one just because I just saw it. Waymo is now in Miami, where I am. They just started Waymo today, public rides in Miami, and so I'm gonna figure out where I need to go and get in a Waymo. Like, even though I have my car here, I don't know. So, all right, let's jump into these stories. So these both happened this week, and boy, I think both of them are really pretty interesting. Ads are coming to ChatGPT. Now, this is not terribly surprising, I think. OpenAI is a business. They are no longer just a non-for-profit. They are now a for-profit also. They are burning through money. They need to make money. And so they're now bringing ads. And so they're bringing ads to the free tier. And they've added another tier called ChatGPT Go, I think it's called. Let me find it here. Yeah. So ChatGPT Go, which is an $8 a month. I guess you could call it a middle tier between free and is it Pro or Plus? I don't even remember at this point.
Fingernails on chalkboard every time you say free.
Well, wait,
Plus.
next week.
Drives this guy crazy.
Next week. That's
the
our
subject.
topic.
Yeah.
I promise.
Yes.
Yes. But what do you make of ads in OpenAI and ChatGPT? What do you think?
Did you just say the middle tier doesn't have ads?
No. So there are now going to be, or are, 4 tiers. There's, close your ears, Sky. There's the free tier. There's Go. There's Pro. And I always get these confused. Which is Pro and which is, what am I on? I don't even know. I'm on here we go. Let's see.
While he's thinking about that, let me introduce you to the Bose headphones because they're
ads.
just wonderful.
There we go.
You know,
Is this
and,
ad?
I've had these, and I testified that they're terrific. Okay,
It holds things.
So I don't remember, whatever. It's Pro or Plus. I don't remember which is which. So there's the $20 a month and the $200 a month. And then the $8 a month is the new Go. And then there's the free plan.
Do they all have ads?
I'm
no.
so
So
surprised.
the two that have ads are the free and the Go. And so this is, they oops, sorry, wrong button. They gave us an example of what this might look like. So this is, let's see if I can zoom in here at all.
Do we get the flowers with it?
So here's what you've got. So you've got your prompt, and then it gives you your answers, and then it's gonna, based on what you're talking to it about, it will give you
It might bring something up. Yeah.
ads. Right.
But when you have the speak and spell version, does it like interrupt what it's telling you and say, just for a minute now, I'm going to tell you about this.
When you're talking to it, that's it. Yeah.
I hope it's a nice person's voice, not hectoring you for not buying. You didn't buy this soup last time, and I'm really upset.
I mean, look at this. They even have on some of these, they've got chat with Pueblo, like, so here's a sponsored ad, Pueblo and Pine, and you can actually, I don't know what it means to chat with them, but, it just opens a, I don't understand. What is it? What does it open? Is this
An
in
interaction with
ChatGPT?
Interaction with their bot.
Yeah.
All the
So
bots.
your
talk
bot
Bring
is
the
talking to
bots.
their bot?
Bring all the bots.
I don't know.
Conversational interfaces create possibilities for people to go beyond static messages and links. Soon you might see an ad and be able to directly ask the questions you need to make a purchase. Okay. You're not actually chatting with Pueblo and Pine. You're chatting with ChatGPT, who knows about
About
Pueblo
that
and Pine.
subject,
Right,
yeah.
right. Okay. All right.
How much do I have
what's
to
your
pay to
take?
get my ad in there? I mean,
Well, that's an
you know,
interesting
Google
question, right?
will put it at the front if I pay for it. Yeah.
So what's your take on ads in ChatGPT? Are you surprised? Is this expected? Is it, it doesn't bother me.
I'm going to
shocked beyond
use it.
belief.
Surprised? No.
I'm going to use it on my computer so that it's big enough screen that I just don't have to deal with it.
I'm fine if it's on the free tier. If I'm paying for things, I don't necessarily want
Of
it on my
course.
paid tier. You know,
So the
but
eight
and
do-
it feels like there's a tier missing, right? To go from 8 to 20 is not a big deal, but 20 to 200 is a big
Well,
deal. It
right.
feels like there's a tier missing.
The $8 tier with ads feels like what's the Kindle with ads, right? So
Yeah.
that's what that feels. So you're subsidizing the cost of the Kindle by having some ads on there. Right.
Do they have less ads at the $8 than at the free?
It's a good question. They don't mention that in the article.
What I guess I don't understand why you would pay $8 for something you can get for nothing.
Because you get a lot more. You get access to, so on the free plan, you only have access to OpenAI's the mini model. I forget what it's called. Let me open it up real quick.
So the $8 ad is the $20 ad with the $20 level with ads. Does that sound right?
No, it's still a little less. You don't get, so there are
Okay.
different tiers. So at $20, you get a certain number of queries every month. At $200, you get a certain number. At $8, you would get a certain number. You also have access to different models at the different
see.
tiers. So only the $200 a month has access to the biggest, greatest pro model, and then it goes down from there. So for most people, Lois, I think you're right that the free is probably fine. If you're using it every moment of every day like I do, then it's worth paying for. For me at least, it's worth paying for.
Yeah,
With
for
that
me it
being
is too. Ken Jordan made a really good point on Tony's show last week that almost all the free tiers are what most people will need because eventually the higher, better quality will be free as a new higher, better quality comes available.
Yeah.
It makes the new technology, makes the old technology obsolete. It's like a cascading effect. Yeah.
I think that for a lot of us, you also pay for access. You know, you pay for access to the newest models before other people get them. And so if that's important to you, if you want to be on the cutting edge like that, then it's worth it. But
I think there's some more security measures too. Like I think you can have more tightened security in what is shared. Like you can choose if you want it to be training or not training. I think you can do that if you're paying more.
Gotcha. Well, speaking of security, actually, that brings us to the second story, actually, because OpenAI also announced this week that they are now going to start predicting your age in order to put in protections for children. Now, again, I'm not sure that this is surprising. I am surprised that they're using their own tool to do the prediction. That, I don't know, I'm not sure why that surprises me, but it does. So essentially, they're rolling out age prediction on ChatGPT to estimate whether an account is likely owned by a minor. And if the system predicts that a new user may be under 18, it will automatically apply additional safeguards to limit exposure to sensitive or adult.
While we would think this is altruistic and for us, I do remember Graham Kerr telling me what a lawyer's job is to think of the worst possible thing that could possibly happen, and that they're going to attack it first before the suing starts happening at you. And so I would like to think this was for our own protection, but it's not.
Well, actually, Sky, it's for OpenAI's protection, because later in 2026,
That's my point.
Right, they are
Which is
planning
great.
to introduce an adult mode to ChatGPT. And
wow, you went over the dark side.
well, I'm just reading from the article. They are introducing a verified adult mode later with content later in 2026, and this is meant to protect children from that.
I'd be curious to know how they're doing that though, because we haven't been particularly great so far using any kind of age software. Like it's
Right.
failing across the board, like
Right.
everywhere. So, hey, I'm all for you trying something new, but it could also hurt people who are English language learners, for example, if they're using structure of a sentence to define if someone is old or not. So
So they also say if they made a mistake
right.
and they placed an adult in the under 18 experience, that adult can verify they're an adult by sending them a picture. And I'm going, yeah, you think these kids can't figure
Yeah.
out how to take a picture? That's not going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. I don't see how this works. I don't see how it works. I think that every time you try and stop people from accessing something, they get smarter than you and they find a way around it.
Well, some people will get around it. And
my daughters will get around it. How's that?
But a lot of people will just accept it and go on and do what they're going to do and not worry about it. I mean, you know, there's a lot of people that just comply.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I wonder, for example, so I have a paid account. My 17-year-old daughter uses that account with me. She has no interest in paying for her own account. So what's going to happen when this gets kicked in? Am I, you know, which of us is going to...
You're going to be seeing things you don't want to see.
Or is she going to be seeing things she doesn't want to see? It's
or she's going to be seeing things she does want to see.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Lois. You just ruined my night.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions about how this works, because is there like a family account or something? You know, it's like if I'm a parent, I don't necessarily want my child to be on without my being on an account that can look through all their stuff. But, you know, I don't know. I think there's some unanswered questions.
Yeah,
and there's a difference between a 6-year-old and a 17-year-old.
Of course. And right. John Wallace is pointing out, by the way, that every major company uses their own software for controls. And you're right, of course. I think what I meant is not that they're using their own software. I think what I meant that I'm surprised by is that they're using AI to do this work. Now, maybe I'm naive and other companies have also been doing AI. I don't think they have, though. I think it's really been a trust system, and it's failed. I acknowledge that. But it's been a, you know, put in the age of your birth and then we trust you. And of course,
right.
I don't know. There's something about giving AI the power. I'll give you an example, actually. You all know, we've talked about it here. I'm building a ton of stuff on Lovable and lovable.dev. And one of my projects got taken down last week. I couldn't access it. I can't access it on the back end. There's nothing I can do. It was taken down by the trust and safety team. I'm not sure what that means. Apparently, it was a class creator, so like it would organize kids into classes. Apparently, there's something else like that in the world, and they thought I don't know what they thought. So I went back to them and I said, whoa, like this, I'm not selling. This is just a tool that I'm using internally. It got flagged. I needed to remove that flag because that's not, and they said they can't. And so I've lost that project. Now they gave me my money back. But the point is that they are an AI company that uses their own tool to do this work. I'm positive that their trust and safety team is an AI bot that did this. And we reached a point where that bot won. It took something. I had spent money. I had created something, and it's just gone now. So that's why I'm a little surprised that they're choosing AI to do this age verification.
Well, this sounds like a Hollywood movie script. I mean, Tamara's can tell the story of somebody submitting a script, and then the next week, oh, we don't need your script, but all of a sudden, that same movie shows up with a different name on it.
That's why you can't submit scripts to anybody. They have to go through an agent, or they have to go through a lawyer, or our legal team.
John,
you can't no one can read scripts like if someone sent me an represented script, I could send it to the legal team of my organization, and then they would have to fill out documentation. No one's going to read anything because there's only 6 story ideas.
Gotcha. John Wallace is clarifying that, and this is always thank you, John, because I think in a very naive way about AI. But John is saying there's a difference between generative AI and machine learning, and that now see, this is Jasmine. You're shaking your head like this is where this is why you're here to set me straight on this stuff. That apparently machine learning has been used for 20 years to do this. What do you know about that, Jasmine?
I'd be really curious to see what kind of, I think the next thing I'm going to do is figure out what kind of machine learning that they're using to do this stuff, because there's many different types of machine learning. There's supervised, there's unsupervised, and everything has its like good points and its bad points. And I know that most age things have some sort of machine learning attached to them just to like double check it. It's not like entirely off of the honor system usually, but I don't really know. And so I think that it's a good thing to look at, like if they're, because generative AI is quite new, but machine learning has been around for a very long time. Deep learning is sort of like the section closest. If you have it on like a scale by down, it's like machine learning, deep learning, generative AI is all under artificial intelligence, but they get more and more narrow and more focused as you go in. So I think that's a good thing to look into, you know.
That's
Could
really
you
helpful.
define machine learning?
Yeah, machine learning is basically you write a program that can learn from other things. So supervised machine learning is going to be like, I'm going to give you a bunch of things and give you categories, and I'm going to tell you how to sort these things into categories, and I'm going to hold your hand, well, hold the machine, the algorithm's hand through the whole process. And unsupervised, there's like a whole flow chart you can go through, but unsupervised learning is essentially like, I'm going to give you all this stuff, or I'm going to let you go and you're going to figure out the categories on your own, much like how you would sort of when you're teaching a kid to do their ABCs, when you're teaching them to write, you're like helping them make the letters. But then at a certain point, you're like, if you're doing words, when you're teaching sight reading, you might say like, okay, what does this sound make? And then they'll like make the sound, and they'll either get it right or they don't get it right. And then you like give them a reward, or you say, that's not right, try again. It's kind of the same way that a machine learning model will do it. I'd recommend Turing's paper on machine learning and some of the objections to that. It's very interesting.
The supervised and unsupervised, I heard a lot of that around CES recently because of all the robots. What's the robot that they're launching actually in people's homes now that can't do anything unless someone is controlling it from behind the scenes?
Neo?
But the reason they're controlling it from behind the scenes is because that's supervised learning. They're doing for the robot, and then by doing it for the robot is learning, as opposed to just throwing a robot in with a bunch of clothes and asking it to figure out that they go in the washing machine or they go in the dryer.
Well, I knew Jasmine knew what she was talking about, because on our bookshelf she has Ready Player One right there, right over your shoulder. You are.
That's my brother's recommendation.
Oh, so good. Sorry, I'm random in that way, but yes, the other way that we used to learn print media and how to pronounce words and things.
So OpenAI, I think, is in many ways coming into its own. It's becoming a big boy now, a big girl, because it is realizing it has to make a living, and it's also realizing that it has to be responsible in how it makes that living and protect young children. It's very interesting to see. Then you've got Grok, which is just putting
Random.
out I'm not sure we're even allowed to talk about it on this show.
Well, I think that's what I'm hoping that this people group can gather and start a trend of ethics and values and morals and ideologies, because if we can't hold our own, then why do we expect whoever that
Right.
ubiquitous, them is, them died, we is them.
So let's do this. Let's transition now and talk about not so much about morals and values, but about the where that all comes from and whether it matters anymore. So here we are with our ChatGPT and we've had Google now for 30 years, and these amazing tools that give us any piece of information we could possibly want to know in a heartbeat. The question is, when any factual question can be answered instantly through search engines, AI assistants, if information is always available and ubiquitous, what's the value of knowing anything at all? Is there value in knowing? And if it's okay, I'd actually like to start at the end with you, Dave. I'd like to start with this chart that you gave us, because I think that may set a nice sort of platform for us. So I'll turn it over to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell this to students and people that I lecture to. They think data is very important, and it's not. It's not information until it's been processed into information. So data coming out of a test or a stream or a machine, producing data, that's great. We sync measurements into the river and we get data. But the data doesn't have any context, so we need that to turn it into information we can use. And we use a lot of information without worrying about it being knowledge. But when you want to acquire knowledge, it requires being able to interpret information properly and to construct knowledge, to build knowledge, to create it. And then people pass knowledge between each other. And then over a period of decades, in my case, you develop some wisdom. You can develop expertise, which is a form of wisdom, and it also can have a byproduct, which is called intuition. People develop an intuition about something when they become deeply familiar with it, when they know it really deeply. You were asking earlier about all the data that you can get out of our technology today. One of the things that I've noticed is that there's gaps in data. There are things in, say, a history answer that are skipping over things, and there's errors of omission that a lot of Americans have not been told anything about its treatment of the Philippines. And it's not a big piece of history, except for people who are really deep into history. And this is what's not going to be in your query. If you're asking ChatGPT about America's connection to Philippines, it'll give you the government's view. It won't give you a big historian's view, because that historian didn't authorize their book to be in the ChatGPT. It has the effect for me, and this is my last point, that if we think that getting answers is the way we need to operate our lives, it's actually generating a sense of ignorance. We feel ignorant if we don't know the answer to something. And we should still have that practice of constructing our own knowledge, doing things in the world with our hands maybe, and finding out that, I don't know, frogs slip right out of your hand when you go to grab one. We don't know that when we're young, but we go out and we play in the lake and we find that the frog's slippery. And now that's knowledge that I have, things I had from experience. We're not experiencing the world the same way anymore, and we haven't for probably 20 years now, and we're still adapting to working with screens instead of people. And as we're doing here today, and it's lovely to have all you and talk to you on a weekly basis. But knowledge that I'm getting from you guys is coming from you challenging me and saying, oh, I'm full of, I don't know what I'm talking about, or whatever it is. And then the two of us learn, and all of us together with our viewing audience learn something. So it is a method of acquiring and distributing or sharing information and knowledge. But we don't really sit here, and I don't just give you reams of data and hope that you can interpret it. That's just not there. So that's why that triangle exists. And I've often, it's funny, I often go to the university and lecture on media and community, and one of the lecture halls actually had my diagram posted. I thought the teacher would like this diagram enough that they posted it themselves. So it was a business class too.
One of the questions that I have is so what of those 4 levels is AI able to do?
It's a retrieval machine and a sorting machine, so it can handle information and data, but it has no knowledge.
Right. Brody is actually saying that it's in an era of information overload, curation is a superpower.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how do you do creation but make associations and categories and sort things? And curation,
which
is
AI
done because
happens
of
to be
expertise
great
and
at.
knowledge.
But I'll say
it's really good at.
It's really
sorting
good at that. Sky, go ahead.
Right.
It's the best sorting hat you ever saw.
Yeah.
I had a great joy of being at a retreat with theologians, artists, and thinkers. And the gentleman came up to me after a couple of days. It's actually where I met Graham Kerr, but another gentleman came up after me, and he tapped me on the head and said, "Sky, you need to be less Greek." And then he tapped me on the chest and said, "And be more Hebrew." I went, "What are you talking about?" I was going to, reach out to my rabbi friend, but I think what it meant was stop taking everything as intellect, but listen to your heart/gut of a thing as a whole human experience. And now, having exercised with Chat, with Claude, with Perplexly, with Gemini daily, the heart of that experience isn't there. Great information, but I'm glad I'm the one that's the adult and it's the child, the parent. I'm the child. They're the child.
Yeah. Lois, go ahead.
So it's interesting that this is our topic tonight. Today on our radio show, which is the Davis Garden Show that I do with Don Shore, and we recorded it yesterday and it played today, and we talked about how much misinformation is being spread around by people asking questions, biological questions, plant questions onto an AI and getting ridiculous answers, but they sound really good. And the only way you know that this is ridiculous is to talk to a human who understands about plants and gardening and all that physiology stuff. So there is, in addition to just being careful about AI and asking for sources and things like that, you have also got people who are trying to make money and steal your information, I think, by putting out new little apps that, oh, you look at your plant with your camera and it scans it and it tells you what it is, and it tells you to put sugar or cinnamon or Coca-Cola or whatever it is. It has no basis in reality. So we're getting it from two sides. One is AI being trained on the huge amounts of data in the world, much of it is wrong when you're talking about plants. And the other is people trying to get you to give them your information, your time, all that other stuff for a product that is false. And I think they probably know it's false. Nobody is going to be silly enough to think that putting cinnamon or sugar or Coke on your plant is going to suddenly heal the brown leaves and they'll turn green and get soft again. I hope.
I have a lot of professors right now that are actually encouraging us to use AI for the curation of things. But one thing that I always say is double check where it's getting your sources from, because there's this thing that's happening that's like hallucination of sources. And it apparently is quite a big issue. I personally haven't had it happen in a way that I was like, saying something that was completely wrong, checked, and then it was like I realized that it wasn't actually a source and that it had just made it up. But I always now go to the sources that it gives me, because I do use it for my assignments sometimes, because sometimes my professors will say, like, start with AI, put in the response that it gives you to this form, and then take it and it'll have this whole spreadsheet. Because I think it's the thing it's unavoidable. It's going to be there. It's not going away. And I think a lot of professors now are thinking, like, if it's going to be here, like Google started to be here, then we might as well teach people how to use it properly and how to not have it be this new thing that people aren't being trained on, that people don't know how to use. And then they're going out into a world where it is being used and they're unprepared for that.
Yeah. Tamara and Dave. Go ahead, Tamara.
I think a lot of it really has to do with things we've talked about in the past, which is it really comes down to being able to take data that is given to you and interrogate it. And that is actually going to come from experience and from, like Dave said, interacting in the world. That is not going to come from, just seeing information. But like we've seen with Google, there's many, many people that's their end game. They put their question into Google and they get an answer back, and that's where they're done. And we're seeing that happen with AI. If you're someone who uses AI where you plug something in and you spit something back and you take that as gospel, you are going to be in trouble. That's not wisdom. That's not knowledge. That's just information that is not vetted. I mean, even with stuff that, I've found that when I'm interacting where it starts hallucinating, it's because I actually have other knowledge that allows me to ask the question back in a way that is like, hey, that's actually not accurate. And it will immediately say, oh, you're so right, Tamara. That is because this thing has changed. And it comes up with a whole reason of why. But thank you for catching that. I'm like, of course. But the average person who doesn't catch that and takes it as truth is really in trouble.
Yeah. Dave, go ahead.
I'm kind of curious about the emotional response that people have when they get information that is inflammatory. Recently, a friend of mine sent a group email to most of his friends across the country, including a meme image that was meant to get us all upset. And the group immediately, because they're very intellectual people, they immediately took the thing apart. They deconstructed the image and showed how many flaws there were in it and how it was poorly understood what Canadians are really worried about. And it was meant to stoke an emotional response in all of us. And I had to go to the group and say, look, guys, don't do that. Like, you're amplifying it. The more you circulate this thing, the more you send it out to other people for an opinion, you're doing their work for them and making that disinformation spread. And this is the thing that, we get rage bait as the word of the year from the dictionaries, that this is what they're designed to do for us. And sometimes when we get an answer that we don't like, we tend to feel like, hey, it's the machine's fault and not mine. But at the same time, we're getting a lot of answers that we came for, and now we're being fooled into thinking they really are the answers.
Tlalak made an interesting point. He said, we as a society have largely rejected the idea of authoritative information. So who do we trust to curate information?
It's a really
Personally, I'll trust anybody who's dedicated their life to something. That's a criteria I have. If a guy spent 60 years of his 80 years studying one thing and getting a PhD for it, I'm going to trust that guy's opinion. That's for sure.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess what he's asking though,
doctors included.
I guess what he's asking though is that as a society, we have the idea of
we're suspicious now.
Right.
See, it's engendered mistrust, right? This is the thing. It engenders that mistrust by being so ubiquitous and giving us no other options. So
no,
yes,
see,
it's
I
easy to
think
make people
you're
think that way.
you're blaming the technology, and I think we did that to ourselves.
Oh, I'm blaming us. I'm blaming us.
Right. That's on us.
Well, my question is,
what role is the AI answers and the authority with which AI answers, or the authority with which Google can very quickly give us at least a link to an answer, if not the answer itself. How has that impacted? I mean, let me
Yeah.
actually, Jasmine, I
Well,
don't
I'll
mean to
take
pick on you,
Tony's
but
authority. Tony has authority.
right. Jasmine, I'm just, because we're all old folks. You're a student here. So, I mean, what value, this is a loaded question, so I apologize ahead of time, but what value do you find in going to university when everything that your professors are going to teach you, you could probably learn on YouTube?
Ah, I don't agree with that statement. I don't think that everything I'm being taught in university I could learn on YouTube.
Okay.
I think not to speak for the entirety of Gen Z, because that is my generation, but oh gosh, she's taking big positions
We're
here.
all speaking as boomers here, so it's okay.
Yeah. But I find that there is real value in not just learning the content, but learning how to learn. That's one thing. I think we were talking about that before. Like, there is a real value in not just knowing the facts, but knowing how to discern what is worth making sure that you know, and making sure that you can like differentiate between that. Like, I have a favorite book that's currently like top of the shelf, Autocrat of the Breakfast Table. Basically, this guy Oliver Wendell Holmes, he just goes on rants for like pages, and it's great. I love it. But half the information is like just his opinions. Most of the information actually is just his opinions, and reading through that and being able to think like, well, this guy is probably thinking this, or this guy is probably thinking this. Being able to figure out what's going on behind someone's exterior, being able to look beyond what is presented to you at face value is really important. And I think that's the value of college, is not knowing the facts off the top of your head, but being able to read something new, being able to learn something new, and then glean from that what you need.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Integrate. Yeah.
Tamara, and then Tony.
One of the.
Hold on one second, Dave. I'm sorry.
I think that one of the things in thinking of Talalik's question is that I think that there's a certain comfort in authoritative answers from AI, even if they're inaccurate for a lot of people. I think that we live in a world where everybody is being pulled into so many directions that I think the danger is that you go to an AI or Google or wherever you're going for information, and it comes back and says, here's the answer. And it's so certain. There's a certain comfort in that. And that's a slippery slope and is kind of dangerous. But I do think that one of the things that people are, why they're just stopping there and not going any further, is that everywhere you go, including your neighbor and people of supposed authority, it all feels so polarizing that I think that there's a certain amount of that's like, you want to tell me the truth, even if it's not the truth? Fine, I'll take it.
That's fascinating. Tony.
Yeah, I'm going back to beating the dead horse that I've been beating all along in terms of this idea of ethics and compassion. And I think that you cannot look at AI or these AI models and remove the humanness that we need in all things. And at the same time, as already been said, that I really sort of go back to David, your experience with Lovable in the beginning, where you talked about, creating code and working with code, and you recognize that a person who knows code and was using the AI would be better equipped to see the hallucination and fix the errors that were in the code. And I think that has to be part of the way in which we continue to look at. I love AI. I love ChatGPT. I pay for it. I think it's great, but I do not rely on, as Tamara said, I do not rely on it as a single source. You know, we have to treat AI in the way in which we would do a formal paper. You know, we would get several sources and then and you know, share the information of where we got those sources from. And you know, if you need to use, you know, AI in a combination of actual research, you know, materials, I think that's okay. And so again, but you know, when you get back to the things that Clark was talking about in terms of the idea that because we're bombarded with so much every day, and we are bombarded with information that is not true, but it beats us to death with the lie. And so we're also wrestling with the fact that the media is not necessarily in, you know, looking for the actual truth, but what's going to get eyeballs on it.
You know, there's so now there are a couple of different things that you've just brought up for me. The first is truth versus lie, and how can we judge or curate that information or that knowledge. The other thing is just the impact that these tools are having on our ability to learn or hold knowledge. Paul, oh, that's not the right one. Wait a second. How do I get this one out there? This is the one I want out there. I don't want this one there. I want this one there. Hold on a second. Trying to actually get this out to, there we go. There we go. Sorry about that. So Paul is watching. He said, I wonder if relying on instant access to AI answers might be doing to our brains what cell phones did to our ability to memorize numbers. I don't know. I've said this a couple times that I don't know my daughter's phone numbers.
Yeah.
Like if I lost my phone,
right on.
I don't know what I'm going to do. So I think it's interesting that these tools not only are forcing us to question what is real or what is truthful or what is factual or what is not, they're also, I don't want to say dumbing down, but they're challenging our ability to hold knowledge.
Well, they're changed. Everything's always going to change, right? There was once upon a time when your daughter didn't have a phone. And there was once upon a time when those phones, not everybody had a phone. So did people survive? Yeah. But what I'm giddy about, Jasmine, you quoted a book from 1835. I think that's awesome. It was probably a piece of paper in technology, but the psychology, the ideology, the political issues, they're not different. We're just inundated, to Tony's point. Okay, I used to say we were inundated with 3,000 messages a day. That's going to train us in a thing. Then I heard, no, it's actually 10,000 messages a day. Okay, in the wanting to be the bearer of bad news because everybody loves a train wreck. Hey, I got new news. The new fact, or is it the new thought, is 0.08 of a second new piece of information is coming at us. How do we get better at something or worse? Repetition.
You know, I'm coming to Tamara and Dave and Tony, but I just want to bring another comment from Tlaluk. This, I don't know why I didn't think of this. This is so important. Failure is so important for learning.
Yep.
And if we don't have the opportunity to fail and try again, then we run the risk of not learning anything at all. I mean, that's so insightful.
So
and
true.
You know, maybe thank God for hallucinations, because they force us to think. Because you know, if when the AI can't fail anymore, then we're really in trouble, I think. Tamara, Dave, Lois, Tony, go.
I think that, like, I've just noted for myself that when I first started using AI, I went to ask it questions. Here I'm asking you a question, you're giving me an answer. And actually, that's not the best use of AI. That is the worst case scenario use of AI. So if that's what you're using AI for, you are missing out on all kinds of things that AI can do. Where I found AI to be the strongest for me is when I go to it with a problem that I'm going to collaborate with it on, and I work back and forth to solve the problem. What it's actually doing is enhancing my knowledge, and I'm able to have an interactive conversation where I'm like, I don't think it works that way. I think it should work this way. And that's where AI is the strength. It's not just giving me information, it's actually improving my thought process and my thinking. And the more that I ask it to do more complicated tasks that I'm not sure it's going to be able to do, and then it does it, it actually is enhancing my growth and my ability to interact with it and to ask it more comprehensive things. But I can't do that if I don't already come to the table with a certain amount of knowledge that I can push it to a higher level and it can push me to a higher level. If I'm just going to it to answer questions, that's like the worst worst use case of what this technology can do.
You know, there's a tradition in Judaism that you're not allowed to study Jewish mysticism until you're 40 years old. Now, I became a rabbi when I was like 25, 26, whatever. So for the first 15 years of my rabbinate, I used that as an excuse for not understanding a damn thing about Jewish mysticism or mysticism at all. I used that as an excuse. But the idea behind it is that if you don't enter into that study with the grounding in, the other stuff that's necessary, you're not going to get it.
Makes no sense. Yeah.
Right. And it could even be harmful. And that's what I think you're getting at, Tamara, that if we approach AI, if we don't see it as a replacement for, but a way to enrich and enhance, and if we don't do our part, if we don't bring our knowledge, our wisdom to that experience, then not only will it not work, but it could actually be harmful. Dave,
and our knowledge could be how we craft the question, right?
Sure,
it may be, I don't understand this completely. Let me craft this in a way, bringing what I do bring to the table so that I can get more information back.
Yeah. Yeah. Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, prior experience is absolutely important. I'm thinking from what Jasmine said, there's an old story. I'm not sure if it's reference to Noam Chomsky, but he talked about going to school and his dad would meet him when he's home and he'd say, "What did you learn to believe or did you learn to think?" And that was the difference. He wanted his son to go to school to learn to think, not to be given beliefs. And that's part of what I think people are finding is that they're having their beliefs challenged every day by technology, and things that they thought they understood about the world are now changing. And there are a lot of unanswered questions that even cannot be answered. There's stuff we just don't know how to get there or how to make it better. And in my world, ambiguity is very important. And ambiguity means that you have to connect the dots yourself. You can't let somebody else tell you how it all fits together. So people who are comfortable with ambiguity often have a curiosity or a need for knowledge or an ultimate purpose for the knowledge they're trying to acquire. And if there's ambiguous information, they have to learn that critical analysis that tells us where the right answer fits somewhere between those extremes.
Absolutely. Lois, go ahead.
I think that if the technology and the AI advances and all those things that we're dealing with now had happened 15, 20 years ago, we would be in a very different place. And one of the reasons I think that there are more problems now is that there's a large part of our society who does no longer believe in science. They don't think that a scientific analysis is necessary for anything. So that whatever they're looking at or asking questions about or thinking about, it's like, well, my cousin said this, or this happened to my uncle, or I know this guy who says that's true, without any scientific support for it. And so when we are using AI and other such tools to shape how we're going to act, but we don't have the belief that there is something that can show me if this is right or wrong. Now, for many people, that was the scientific method, and that's getting less likely now. For other people, it's been God and religion, and that's also getting less likely now. So I sort of worry for our culture and our society that we're much more easily swayed than we used to be. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just my way of looking at life and the things I've seen. But that's a worry for me.
Are
I-
we, or do we know more? Do we see more of that now? Right? Were people always believing things that weren't accurate, but they were smaller and we didn't see them because we only saw what was in our community? And now we're seeing lots of things that we would never, that we were never meant to see, right? We weren't never meant to see what was happening, in another country. We were meant to see what's happening in our village of our people. So I'm not sure that that has necessarily changed, or our interaction with it has changed.
I think there is another big important change, and then Tony, I'm coming to you, and that is the speed of everything.
Mhm.
That we, unlike 10 or 15 years ago, we live in a society where we expect instant gratification. We expect I just heard about GoPuff. Have you heard about GoPuff? It's a delivery service that will kind of it's like Uber Eats and it's Instacart. It's like everything. It just delivers anything. They're in Miami, and they're in a few. They started out in California. They promise like 15-minute delivery. Like you couldn't wait. You can't wait
pizza
for an
in 15
hour. I
minutes.
mean,
Right.
we, between TikTok, between social media, between Amazon one-day shipping, we expect everything right now. And the scientific method requires that you spend some time and that you allow for mistakes to happen and for hypotheses to be revisited and all that. And that just doesn't
Answers to
jive.
emerge naturally. Yeah.
Pondering.
That doesn't jive with the way we live
quick
nowadays.
answers, yeah.
Well, and also answers to be
technology and-
wrong.
Technology and
Yeah.
AI does. Even if it's wrong, it gives us that instant gratification. Yeah. Let me
But
get
I mean,
over
with
to-
the scientific method, it could be wrong. Like if your hypothesis is wrong,
course.
that is equally a good answer.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Let me get Tony in.
Well, I just wanted to go back to the whole point, the idea of tools. And I think that fundamentally we just have to really, really recognize that AI is a tool. And, it continues to be a tool. And that tool, you went from, the broom to the vacuum cleaner. And, I just think that we have to recognize that it is a tool and to be careful to continue to think of it in the way in which we are using it as a tool. Now, as a person who, I'm an unapologetic Star Trek fan, and I think that I'm a believer. I believe that, these technology tools, will bring us to a time in which humanity is able to embrace one another and do all the things that we need to do, to be able to explore the galaxy or whatever you want to think of in terms of that. But there is a transition that takes place in order for that kind of possibility to exist. And so I was thinking to myself as we were talking about this, the Star Trek movie where Scotty is talking to the computer and he's saying, hey computer," and the person that's standing there used the mouse, and he says, "How quaint." And I think that that's the way in which we ought to think about technology. There's going to be a time when what we're talking about right now and how this is going to be quaint. And so we need to keep in mind that it's a tool and that the tool continues to improve, and we are able to create better works, maybe better creations, better music. You know, that's the way in which I try to look at this.
Yeah. Lois, go ahead.
Am I getting dumber because AI exists? I don't think so. But then how would I know? Do I know less now than I used to? Well, no, I haven't forgotten that much. But if there is an instant answer out there, that may mean that I don't have to learn more. It's possible. I think what the real question here is, if I am able to write something down, then I don't have to remember it every minute of every day. I've got it written down. Okay. That frees up the human to do those creative things, whether it's painting or admiring a sunset or cooking or looking at the different pieces of information and going, oh, I wonder what would happen if look at that. And making those connections that humans are so good at doing, and then making those heartfelt connections to other human beings that machines can't do. So it's great to have some extra tools, but is it making me dumber? I don't think so.
Dave, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I cede my time to Jasmine.
Yes.
She was waving her hand earlier and we missed her.
I'm so sorry I didn't see you, Jasmine. I apologize.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. I just wanted to talk about blurring lines between humans and machines. I think that's something that's really central to the discussion right now, especially with what we're talking about making mistakes and learning from failures. And this is something that that machine learning models do. They learn and they grow, and that's the entire position that they're in. Talking about, well, going back to that book that I mentioned, I broke out my copy because I just wanted to read something. In the first chapter, he says, what satire, by the way, is that machine to the mere mathematician, a Frankenstein monster, a thing without brains and without heart, too stupid to make a blunder, that turns out results like a corn sheller and never grows any wiser or better, though it grind 1,000 bushels of them. And I think that really exemplifies, like, you might have a problem that you're giving to a machine, but the corn sheller analogy, it's doing the same thing over and over again. It's never learning. It's like a calculator. Like, he's talking about a Babbage's calculating machine, which is like the difference engine, the first thing you think, Ada Lovelace, all that stuff. Excuse me, I have a cough. Then you think about like Alan Turing, who I was also talking about, I think, a little bit earlier. And one of the main objections to his Turing test was, I think it is the fifth, I just looked this up, sorry. It's the fifth objection, the argument from various disabilities that machines can't make mistakes, that they don't have the ability to make a mistake and then learn from it. But what we're seeing with machine learning, and especially like generative AI, is that they are. So it seems like the line between machine and human, at least to me, I'm having a very hard time increasingly. The more I learn about this, the more I'm thinking like consciousness, AI, humans, intelligence. I feel like it's becoming more of a gradient than a line. Like if you're giving a machine a set of numbers and it's giving you back a number, that's an algorithm. That's it, just, cranking it out. But if you are giving it words, and it's giving you back prose. How do you quantify that? How do you like see, is this a conscious being? Is this something with a brain? Is it thinking, or is it just like, how is that? You know, it can learn from its mistakes now.
Yeah. You've raised a
But it can't tell
really,
me
really
I'm full of
important point. Go ahead, Dave.
It can't tell me I'm full of crap. That's the thing. It can't tell me.
Sure, mine
Dave, I don't
does.
believe a word you say.
Mine does
It
all the
does?
time.
Oh
It
yeah,
tells you don't know what you're talking about?
If you no, I prompted
If
mine.
you
I
set the
said,
personality.
I want you to argue with me. I said, I want you to push back on
Oh,
my
okay.
ideas.
It'll do an
And
argument.
it does
Okay,
it.
that's an exercise. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can do it. Yeah. Have you heard that the test for chat in all the implementations they've created for chat, that if you put in the first line or two sentences from a famous book and ask it to tell that story, it'll actually reproduce the whole book. This is part of a legal fight that's going on in terms of copyright, because they always say, no, it's just the words in the book. We just give it all the words, and then it uses them occasionally, and it sorts them into different patterns for your answer and all that. Yeah, that's what it does. But if you actually specifically put in the first line of, oh, I don't know, Les Mis, then it'll give you the whole story. And it's actually word for word correct. So
Does
this
it
has
work
been-
with textbooks?
Oh, let's do that too. I won't have to buy any more textbooks if I just read the first line, write it all down, and go home. Yeah,
Well,
I
the
hope
new
so.
thing with
Maybe.
textbooks is what Google's coming out with. That the let's, what is it called? Let's learn your way or something like that, where you scan your the textbook and then it creates multimedia for you so that you can learn in
Little
the
learning
way
lesson
that you
systems.
learn
Yeah.
best. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I think Tamara talked about that before.
yeah. You know, I've one of the things that I found myself spending quite a bit of time doing is playing in Suno, the music generation app. I'm a Jewish musician, but I'm a huge fan of Elevation Worship, which is a church. I want to say they're in Atlanta, but I could be wrong about that. And they're huge, and they have the most amazing band in the world. So, like, I go to church all the time with Elevation Church. Don't tell my congregants. And so, what I do now is I write my music, I put it into Suno, and I say, make this in the style of Elevation Church. It's amazing. It's amazing what it comes out, and the voices that are singing have intonation and emotion, and it's so that not line, as you said, Jasmine, that kind of gray blurring. I feel that also in the arts a little bit.
I had a song come up on my Spotify, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Then I checked out the band, and I was like flabbergasted that it was AI. I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the thing was like, well, do I continue to listen to this? Like, do I agree
Have
with
I
this?
broken my
Like,
moral fiber? By,
yeah, this is
Moral
weird.
code.
The thought
Yeah.
that came to mind just as you were talking about it, how does a sommelier become a sommelier? A person that understands the depth of the quality of the nuances of a grape,
fine
where
wine,
it was
yeah.
grown and when it was grown and what it was grown, the environment that it was grown in.
It has to have tasted a lot of things.
A lot of things. So consequently, the positive part of this conversation, if the intellectual tide is rising and we will all now become smarter because we are all becoming more exposed to these different concepts and concept. I mean, Jasmine, you are my hope in the future, because you
What
actually
pressure.
said
Like, no pressure.
you're using the word discernment as a pivot point for you. You are not just taking it for face value for whatever the fire hose that is coming at you through all the technologies and things, but you are a sentient human that has a heart and a soul and a mind. And you said, no, it's on me to figure out what choices do I make. Now, it could be a horrible life. It could be a good life. That is up to you, isn't it? And if you're in university, you are choosing to do hard things. And hard is not a 4-letter word. Hard is Well, good is a 4-letter word. But it's not a bad word. See, bad is a 3-letter word. See, that's the only things I know how to spell.
Yuke in the comments wrote, as long as there are young science students like Jasmine, nothing is lost and there is hope.
Oh,
I agree.
I just want to circle back to something, Sky, on about the sommelier.
please.
And Talalak says that full circle, a sommelier is a curator, which they are indeed. But another thing that we've been hearing a lot about when it comes to jobs and the job market and, will technology or AI take your jobs is I've been hearing quite a bit that it's low-level and mid-level jobs that are at risk. But the experts, the best people at their jobs, they're going to be fine. And so maybe, in fact, all of this technology can rise all the tides, as you were just describing it, Sky. Maybe
360 million experts in this country. That's going to be a trick.
I don't think it's going to change. So I've been using AI, trying to use AI in real life situations. Like, here's a task that I've been doing for the last 6 years. I want to automate it. Let me go through it. And I did it with with an event that I've done probably 25 times. And I was like, you know what? I don't have time to actually do this. I got the information late. I really need some speedier help. And what I found is that it did not take me less time. The low-level jobs that I were doing was able to be offloaded to AI in a way that I could never have imagined and was amazing. My job then became full-on management. There is not the low-level position is going to be managing AI, managing your bot to do things. And the skills that I was using to get it to do what I wanted to do, it did all of the things I needed it to do quicker than I could possibly do them. It managed to do that. But in order for me to get it to do that, I had to do a whole lot of management that really played into the skills I've had as a producer for 20 years. Yeah. And so the jobs are changing, but the jobs are management jobs. It's managing your AI to do menial tasks.
And as usual, at the 10:15 mark, we turn to Tony.
Dun, dun, dun.
Who needs to unmute because we can't hear him.
I really need to work on that. Failures, right? I really think that we need to lean into this idea of tools again. I know I'm redundant, saying that, but as Tamara was talking, I was thinking about, this is going to really be really creative for the low end people in terms of managers, right? So we still have to think about how this tool can be used to help people be trained to do something else or be managers, right? So let's not forget that everybody is not going to be able to be a manager. And so we have to think about the whole of society when we think about this tool. And if we don't, and that's why I always talk about the importance of compassion, concern for your fellow man, because we have not done a good job of really doing that in the past. And so I'm being very hopeful in that we think about these things as tools and try to pull the rest of humanity along with us. Because if we don't, then there is definitely going to be an underclass that does not participate in this technology revolution.
Yep.
I want to just extend a quick special thank you to Lois for bringing us our new friend, Jasmine. And Jasmine, what I'd like to say to you is that we're done. Like the five of us, we're
no, speak for yourself.
Your voice not just your studying, but your voice
Amen.
is the most important voice that everybody in the office hours community needs to hear, and not just yours, of course, people of your ilk. And so I really want to thank you for being here. I want to invite you desperately to come back, and I want to invite you to invite your friends to come be a part of this conversation. We love having different voices and getting new perspectives and everything in here. And as always, I'm so grateful to you, Dave and Sky and Tony and Tamara and Lois and all of you. What a great conversation. Now, next week, watch out, because Sky is coming to town. We're talking about, is
Free.
anything really free? In the world of technology.
Could be a half-hour show, it could really go quickly.
It could be. Yeah.
Sky's answer,
Everybody
no.
just in unison says no, and we're done.
Even the show won't be free, because you're going to have to pay us in your time.
Did I tell you about my headphones? I'm selling
here we
these
go
at a
again.
good price.
And that's when I press
Samsung.
that button and get everyone else off the screen, and wish you all a fantastic rest of the week. We'll see you guys next week on The Rundown. Bye, everyone.